Hello, everybody, and welcome to a big head edition of First Ring Daily, where I am much
What's
closer
going
to
on
the
there?
camera.
Your microphone is
And,
also curiously humongous.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm going to take the high road here.
Yeah, take the high road.
Yep. Speaking of high road, folks, today's show is brought to you by Smart Deploy. These guys right back here. Whoop, I can't navigate. I'm not smart enough. Smart Deploy, brought to you by Smart Deploy. They specialize in computer imaging, so that your IT team doesn't have to. Go check it out. Like, see these sweet little pictures they made? Oh, just turned off. Screensaver. Just rocking and rolling. They made these sweet little caricatures of Paul and I. Paul's is pretty ugly. Mine's pretty good, so you should go check that out. smartdeploy.com/therot. Go grab some free licenses forever and support for a year. It's good stuff.
You. I'm just wow.
So, Paul, do you know why? Do you know why I'm here and not over there? Which is,
I'm guessing it's for the same reason that the show notes are arranged the way that they are, which is that you can always tell when you write the notes because you always write the notes. But you're like Brad got a computer to work is our top story today. Please tell us the story. It's like, major stuff going on in the world of Microsoft, and Brad is excited because he's got a thing.
You could just be nice. You could have been nice and been like, Brad, I'm real happy for you. You've been struggling with this for a while, and let's hear your story about going over the river and through the woods. But nope, you had to take the low road and be an ass about it.
I expressed my happiness for you privately, and now that we're in front of a camera, I feel the need to behave slightly differently.
Well, so anyways, as an ongoing part of the AMD Ryzen saga, I fixed for today for 11:39 a.m. on this particular day. The machine is now working after ripping out all the RAM, all the video cards, everything that was attached to it, except for the CPU. I just started working backwards. It was not the RAM. Thanks to everybody who actually offered advice on how to get that RAM out, because apparently I'm dumb, which is no surprise. But Paul, I don't know if you know this, but on newer motherboards, at least some of them, the bottom toggle for the RAM no longer toggles. It's just fixed permanently in place. So you just do the top one and then you wiggle it pretty sternly,
kind of
and then it pops out.
it in and out.
Yeah,
I was not aware of that, I don't think.
Yeah, and I confirmed on my other Intel machine, they definitely have toggles top and bottom, so there's no question there. So I swapped the RAM, nothing. Did everything I could. I actually was emailing iBuyPower back and forth, and they're trying to help me troubleshoot it. They reset the CMOS or CMOS battery, and I tried that a bunch of times. Absolutely nothing. And this morning I just came and said, you know what? At this point in my life, if I wreck this machine, I mean, this will be the second very high-end machine that I've wrecked in a very short period of time. What do we have to lose? So I looked up how to flash the BIOS without having a monitor attached, and I flashed the BIOS, and it's now working.
That is almost impressive.
Yeah. So the big questions here are why? why did I have to do that? Because I'm wondering if this is the same thing that wrecked the other machine that I had to send back. Is it the same issue? We don't know.
Interesting.
And so the reason why I'm not on the other camera is I don't know if it was the Blackmagic card that was doing it, because you put that card in and install something. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Let me ask you a question. I seem to recall the first machine that you got, the video card came separately.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the case for this new machine as well?
No, it was already installed.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, I didn't have the opportunity of dropping that card on the ground again like I did the first time. So I don't know if it was software, but it's now running the latest BIOS, and it worked. I mean, credit to Gigabyte. All you do is you just load one file. Just you rename a file, put it on a USB drive, stick it in. There's a USB slot that says BIOS. Real simple. You put it in. There's a light on the back. When it's flashing, you pray that your power doesn't go out, and then when it's done flashing, it's updated, and then the machine booted first try. So.
And it just works.
Yes, for now. I'm crossing fingers, and this machine is now
just barely working.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that there's maybe some sort of bad driver or was in there, because what I don't know is, so I send this machine back for servicing or whatever, and they fixed it, right? They put a new motherboard in. I don't know how long they connect it to the internet. I don't know what they do. And what very likely happens is, right, it comes to me and I connect it to the internet and it downloads a bunch of drivers and it probably tries to update some stuff, and that's when it's getting corrupted or whatever. And so I'm hoping that by flashing the BIOS that it's on the latest one, that maybe whatever that incompatibility is hopefully updated or fixed or whatever.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, good luck.
Yeah, so I'm assuming by tomorrow's show the computer will be wrecked again, and I'll be back on. Well, you can't see it, the old one, which I'm not dismantling yet. But the good news is I'll be able to actually write up more about this. I'm going to review the 1080 Ti, which came out earlier this year. I did some benchmarking against the 980 Ti, just for some fun stuff, because I like writing about computer hardware, and 2, I've got a nice one, and let's do some comparison here. And so that'll be coming up here in the relative near future. Although I don't know if it's going to come up before we go to Hawaii. That's going to be interesting. So, Paul, you know what else is interesting? For everybody who's ever had a trouble, who ever emailed us and said, "Hey, I can't get this to work in X podcast app," which how many emails have you ever gotten about that, Paul?
Well, every day I get. Well, not anymore. Yeah. But I would say for the past, I don't know, year, almost every day.
Yeah. So you have to have a little bit of back history before you can do it. But this podcast is now in iTunes and in Google Play, so you can now search and find it. People always ask about Pocket Cast. I believe it's in there as well. I tried to add it and said this has already been added. So I'm assuming somebody else already did it. And basically,
that's interesting.
You can, well, there's no real, so unlike iTunes and Google Play, we actually have some control. When I submitted the feeds, I actually had to prove ownership by doing certain tasks. And then, so what that allows me to do is change like the icons or graphics and that kind of stuff. On Pocket Cast, I don't think that matters because you just control the RSS feed and it updates that way. It's slightly different. So realistically, anybody can take our RSS feed and submit it to any podcast app if they want it.
It is there. I mean, it looks a little minimalist, but let me bring it up and see what it looks like. Well, let's get all the episodes. Yeah.
Should be
there. Do we usually use that gray logo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which that would, to be honest, I could probably use a little refreshing, and I know who can do that for us.
I would say that.
Yeah, our YouTube one is real nice.
Unsubscribe from this piece of crap, and then what are we doing?
Oh, Paul. So now I assume that since Edge is available everywhere, you are now using it everywhere. Is that correct?
No, I am not. I'm still using Firefox, but I know there's a bunch of people who like to use Microsoft Edge on Windows 10, and I think those people should seriously consider using it on mobile as well, because you get all the benefits of the underlying browser, Safari or Chrome, depending on the platform, and then you get all this great integration functionality with the browser you're using at home. So it's kind of a win-win. Yeah,
there you go. It's
for those guys.
If you like Edge, you can now use it everywhere. There's not a whole lot to say about it. I mean, that's just kind of it. Now Microsoft has a broader strategy, and
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing I would say is since the preview started, they've added a bunch of stuff, including the most requested features like password sync, which is obviously necessary. And it is the most seamless way to do continue on PC. Granted, it's only for the browser. Obviously, you don't get the documents and stuff like that. But if you are on a phone and want to push something out to your PC, there it is. Hopefully what we'll see in the current version of Windows 10, the one they're developing now, is the ability to push it in the other direction as well. But whatever. It's a nice little browser.
Yeah, probably because it runs on WebKit.
No, I mean even like the UX.
I know.
I'm nice. Like it's a good app.
It is. They did a good job, and it's much more seamless than the continue on PC experience they had before, which wasn't seamless really in any way. So, good job, guys, I guess. And before we get to the Steam stuff here, Paul, I don't know why we didn't talk about this yesterday, but 600 million, Microsoft finally told us. Actually, they told us at the shareholder meeting, 600 million PCs.
Yeah, I tried to do math, which is my version of going down a rabbit hole. And every time they release a figure like this, I kind of go back and compare it to older things. For example, the last period of time before they released such a milestone. So actually, on that note, Windows 10 adoption, if you will, or usage is accelerating slightly, but it is accelerating. And with the exception of that brief time period right after they released Windows 10 and it was free for everybody, this is pretty much the fastest uptick we've seen of it. The other way I would look at this is I don't remember the exact monthly thing. 100 million divided by 6 is like 16.7 or something. 16.7 million per month, I think. Wait, that doesn't sound right.
No.
Is that right? No, that can't be right. 100 million divided by 6 is something like 16.7. So
yes,
if you go back to the Windows 7 timeframe, when they were counting licenses sold, which was kind of a bogus number, it was routinely 20 million. Like that was what they were trying to hit. And that was what they did hit. And they were able to really massage that number nicely so that it was basically 20 million every single month. Given that this number is more real world, meaning that these are actual people out in the real world using the product, the fact that they're hitting all, whatever that works out to be, 90% of that number tells me that this thing is actually doing really, really well.
Well, there you go. The only other thing, let me pull up the exact stat here that I was kind of joking about before we jumped on this. Woo, dragging the wrong window. This podcast. So, Paul, not exactly, about 13 months from now, 13 months and about 2 weeks to be exact, Windows 7 is supposed to be dead, right? Microsoft's going to sunset it. And according to net market share, 46% of PCs are still running Windows 7.
Yeah, how many? We could start worrying about that now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should take a bet right here. I don't know what the loser has to do or whatever. How many machines or what percentage do you think that's going to be at on the day that Windows 7 dies?
So the better figure might be what percentage of PCs, because what we could compare this to is what Windows XP was on the day that it died. And I want to say, It might have been as high as 30%. I'm just remembering here, so I could be completely wrong, but it was a pretty high number. And that was true even after they had kind of extended the support life cycle at least a couple times. So I've always felt like Windows 7 was going to be the next XP with regards to that kind of thing. The question is going to be whether Microsoft will extend it like they did for XP, because so many enterprises in particular haven't upgraded, which I do think will be the case. So you said it's about 50%, you said somewhere around 50?
46. I'm trying to look up right now what actually Windows XP was according to this April of 2014.
Yeah. So, we still have a ways to go, right? Support ends in January 2020. That's 2 years away. I don't know. I bet they can. I bet they get down to 25 to 30%, somewhere there. But that's not very good, is it? You kind of want it to be, single digit percent or whatever.
Not working. Is this not working?
Yeah, I don't remember the details on XP, but I remember writing that there was some 100-something million people still using this completely unsupported operating system, the day it went out of support. And it's not like Microsoft didn't telegraph the fact that this was happening.
Trying to see here.
The nature of the beast.
Month. So April. Oh, I can't go back that far unless I pay money. And that's not going to happen right now. So,
yeah, let me see if I can find my old stories about this. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, because I would have to think that of that 46%, a good chunk of it's enterprise. I would have to think that at this point.
Of course. Yeah.
And so, as we all know, actually, I talked to some enterprise users over the past couple of weeks. I wrote something up on Petri about how they hit their first major roadblock with rapid release with the users. And the enterprise actually went up today. But anyways, if those customers realistically aren't...
Sorry,
go ahead.
I found an incredible figure for you.
Yep.
8 months before Windows XP was unsupported, 37% of all PCs were running Windows XP. Using that same 1.5 billion figure we always talk about, that meant there were over 510 million PCs running Windows XP, over 500 million. And then January 2014, Is that when it died? Must be right before it died.
April. Yeah.
Oh, it was in April when it died. Well, that's just a different story. Yeah, by January, there were still over 400 million Windows XP desktops.
Yeah, so Windows 7 is quite a bit higher than that right now. Of course, that was closer,
Yeah.
so that's about 6 months from now.
Well, there's more of the PCs, and the percentages are higher, but we're further out too.
Right. We need to reevaluate this number roughly in about 6 to 7 months from now, and that would put it closer to what that figure you just quoted, about mid 30%. But what I was hitting at is that if you're an enterprise customer and you haven't really started migrating to Windows 10, there's no way you're going to hit that deadline if you have a sizable operation, if you have not started at all. So good luck.
Yeah, it's the dark side of success.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you make something that just works.
Yep. Speaking of things making things just work, Paul, is Steam VR. I haven't tried this, so clearly you have Steam VR on mixed reality. It's pretty good.
It is, yeah. I mean, well, so I never used Steam VR until this week, and I waited until because I don't own a VR, compatible VR. Although now Windows Mixed Reality is compatible, so I've been able to try it out. It's not a completely seamless experience. I kind of wish that, like Steam VR was like a room in that house you get, as the kind of start experience. I think that'd be kind of cool. As it turns out, Steam VR uses its own house. Like they have a virtual house for their stuff too, so you kind of go between the two houses. It's a little goofy right now because it's not super seamless. Like you launch the Windows Mixed Reality portal, you switch back to the desktop, and you run Windows Mixed Reality app for Steam VR, and then it launches that way. I tried this before the compatibility was released. Like Steam VR would not see the Acer Mixed Reality headset that I'm using. You can launch individual apps too, obviously, or individual games. That's probably a little easier. But I would say, Microsoft has done kind of an interesting job of providing various types of entertainment in mixed reality or VR, I guess. What Steam VR has is games, like awesome games. And, Microsoft has a few of them. Steam has a bunch of them, and some really good ones. And today, what the one I really want to try is launching, just because I like to throw up all over the place, is a version of Doom for VR I think it's called Doom VFR. And I would imagine it's got to be a real shoot. Like there's no way you're navigating around the world, right? It must move for you, and you just shoot. It has to be like that. But the graphics look great. I mean, granted, they're not going to look that great in VR because of the resolution hit that you get. But yeah, why not? I'll buy Doom for the 14th time and see what it's like in VR. But if you're a gamer, I would say, Microsoft has done something really interesting for that group, and they've really brought down prices across the board. It's not just the Windows stuff, but the third-party Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, or even the PlayStation stuff, which has nothing to do with the PC, has all come down in price ever since Windows Virtual Reality came out. A lot less complex because the sensors are in the VR helmet, right? You don't need to set up stuff on your walls or stands or whatever. And now you can use all the other stuff, which was the point of it, right? I mean, if you got an Oculus Rift, you were going to go on Steam VR and get your games. And that stuff's all available to us now on the Windows Mixed Reality side. So it's kind of the full meal deal, I would say, for that kind of stuff, for gaming. I had actually, it was so interesting. I also tried that AR Star Wars thing today, the Lenovo thing with the lightsaber. And I brought my wife in, and I was like, look, you should just look at this. I'm curious. I just want to get your off the cuff reaction to this, because she's never seen anything like this. And her take on the Windows Mixed Reality thing was that the helmet was bulky and heavy, which she didn't like. She thought it would get it got uncomfortable very quick for her. And I had to go through some of the 360-degree video stuff. Like there's a China thing where you kind of go down a river and someone's paddling the boat, and you can kind of look around. It's cool. It's one of those neat immersive things, but it also looks like a standard definition video from the 1990s. Like it's this VR just doesn't have full HD, let alone 4K visual quality. It's kind of on the low end. So she's like, I get it. Like I could see this happening. The way she said it was, I could see this getting to HD. I think it was the way she thought of it. But yeah, I'd say if you're a gamer, you should take a look.
One thing you should try out, and anybody else who's a space buff, which I absolutely am. When I had my Vive, two things that I played a lot. There's a thing called Apollo 11 VR. You can basically relive the Apollo 11 mission in VR, which is pretty neat. And then Universe Sandbox, which allows you to kind of like explore the universe. Yeah. They're great in VR.
Okay, cool. I will look for those.
Yep. Paul, today is Thursday, and what do we do on Thursdays?
We usually do a throwback of some kind. I don't even know what it is. I'm excited to find out.
This is a real cheap one today, but people I think will appreciate it. Paul, do you remember when we had spam on the site?
Oh, no, this is a good one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I do. All those many years ago, as recently as what was it, Tuesday? Or whatever. Yeah. People probably, some people probably do understand this because they see it. You know, the 1-800 Microsoft support bullshit that you see on the site, that was terrible. Brad and I spend a lot of time every day getting rid of that stuff, and it's a manual process. It's awful. You have to go and delete the thread, then you have to go and delete the user. Yep. And it's one of those little irritants that makes the day miserable to start off, you know, and I think we both go through that. And, you know, Tim pinged us this morning and he said, "Hey, you guys seen any spam?" And I was like, actually, no. And I can't remember the last time I said that. Like, it's been months, like months and months. So what did he do? What has happened?
So basically took the nuclear option, but we knew where the spam was coming from and we tried to get around it. But realistically, the problem was the social plugin. So bots were using the Twitter and Facebook login to create automated accounts because it bypasses certain security features. And the best of our ability, we could not eliminate this. So what we have to do is build our own social plugin that reinstalls the basically the security mechanism to stop the bots. But in the meantime, what we've done is turned off that functionality. And so technically you still can link your Throwout account to Twitter and Facebook if you want, but you have to register the old-fashioned way. But so far it has had an immediate impact stopping the spam. And so, yeah, we gotta figure that out. But I think that's the better route and better path to take, at least for right now. Slight inconvenience to the user, unfortunately, but better user experience once you're logged in.
Yeah. You know, again, like one thing no one would really know is when we log into the site, like I would go in the morning and try to post my first article, and you bring up the page that has like the images, and you kind of drag the image you want onto that page, and they'd be a picture of a beautiful woman. And it was very clearly like a profile picture of some kind, because when you guys add your profile pictures, we actually see them in there alongside our own images. And that's, you know, that was like, yep, there's spam, because there is no one that reads this site that looks like that. No offense, but it's like, right. You could tell like this. And why on earth would a spammer not use a picture of a normal human being? You know, right. Like just like an IT looking guy or something. You know, just it's always some like bombshell blonde, and it's like, like okay, either spam has arrived or it's incoming. You know. Yeah.
So hopefully that will subside. Obviously, we need to get that plugin built out. But if you're listening, well, not necessarily true anymore. I was going to say, if you're listening to this, you're already logged in. So, but that's not always true. But just know that if you're trying to register for the site because you're new to the Throwout Blue Whale Web Media Group kingdom, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way until we can get that nuked properly. But so far, so good.
Listen, I'm sure this will be an inconvenience for some people, but you can't overstate how huge this is for us.
I don't know what I'm going to do with all this free time, Paul.
I know. Yep.
One thing, I misquoted the end of life cycle for Windows 7. I don't know why I was thinking it was next year. It's actually 2020, so they've got plenty of time, actually. If you haven't moved off yet, we got about 2 years.
2 years from January, yeah.
Yeah, not 1 year. So you still got time. You're not screwed if you haven't planned yet, but you don't have much time.
You do, but you know, this is the type of thing like everyone's going to do this at the last minute, and next year is just they're going to be like, we get plenty of cushion. You know, we can just keep rolling. So I don't know. We'll see. I really do feel like we're going to have the same problem we did with XP, and hopefully it won't be as bad, and they won't have to extend the life cycle. I think that would be the worst mistake they could make.
Yeah. You got anything else for today, Paul?
No, I have a day of podcasts and meetings, so that's pretty much my afternoon in a nutshell. How about you?
Well, I'm going to keep setting up this machine. I need to get Premiere Pro installed,
Yep.
do some writing about the 1080 Ti, and then, yeah, then some meetings.
Yep.
So, and then packing.
All right.
Actually, I know. We haven't talked about this much about going to Hawaii, but yeah, that's going to be
a
here.
packed schedule.
Yeah, we do. Like,
So we probably mentioned this, but our wives are coming on this trip, and I hope they like each other because they're going to be spending a lot of time alone with each other, or alone. Period.
So typically, I would tell this to Paul in private, but I think I know him well enough that he won't take offense to this. My wife, like, she came up to me and she's like, this is obviously a vacation for me. I know you've got to work and all that. She goes, at some point, I just really want to be by myself for a couple hours and just read a book. It's like, do we always have to hang out with Paul? And I'm like, nope.
Oh no, you're going to have entire days. Yeah.
Although. I do think, look, when I read it a little closer, I do think there's some time where we can get away. Although I'm coming a day early. You don't leave until Monday, right?
Yeah. So you guys will have time to get around. I'm not sure I'm going to see anything of Hawaii other than where we are. I just don't think I'm going to have time. I mean, it's 2.5 pretty full days, and then they have things at night. And I mean, the way I read this was like, the people were like, our wives basically are invited to a luau thing that we're going to,
right.
But there's like a boat excursion. And unless I misunderstood this, I don't think they could go on that.
Yeah. That's just going to be me and you on a boat. Well, probably some other people, but,
well, yeah, probably a bunch of other people, but I mean, I could imagine my wife's going to want to go on this. So, I mean, we might have to figure something out. I don't know. Anyway, I expect there will be actual coconuts and then coconut shaped drinks. Food cooked outside over a fire, strings of flower necklaces and things. It should be pretty good.
Yeah. We'll make it work.
My daughter's not happy. I can tell you that.
Well, she can be happy with Daisy whenever that arrives.
Yeah, we're going to have a long talk about Daisy today. Actually, that's another thing on my calendar, but I won't bore everybody with that little conversation. But
well, alrighty, folks. Today's show, as a reminder, is brought to you by Smart Play. These guys right back here. There you can see. I bet I can stab Paul in the face. Right. But today's show is brought to you by Smart Play. IT tools to manage your Windows computers made easier. Check them out, smarttoplay.com/throt. And as a reminder, we'll be back here tomorrow for a live show, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And you can find that at throt.com/live, or just check the social feed because we always blast it out there. Have yourselves a wonderful day.